Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. I've got a new brand on the bar I've never had before. Let's get into it. So on the bar tonight, I've got, bam, this is Hirsch the Horizon. So not that long ago, I released a video and it was 5 things that I am tired of in the bourbon world. And one of them was involving transparency on bottles that source whiskey. And I kind of talked about how, you know, if you're gonna source from a different place, it's not your own juice, at least tell us a little bit about it, because at that point, what's stopping me from just going and buying any other product from that same distillery? That's kind of the gist of what I talked about a little bit. And then a couple days later, I was in the liquor store and I saw this bad boy sitting on the shelf. It was actually on the clearance rack. I think this normally runs about 40 bucks. I picked it up for 33. But I picked it up just to see, because I've never really experienced, I've had no experience actually with Hirsch as a brand, but I've been hearing a lot lately about like their double oaks and some store picks that are really good. And so I thought, well, you know, it's on the clearance rack. Maybe I'll try it out. Let's see if there's any information on it. So I looked on the side and it says Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. All right, so we've got some MGP. But then I looked on the back and they've got all the information. They've got the age, they've got the mash bill, they've got the blend. So this is 94% 5-year, 1-month whiskey, bourbon. Mash bill 75 corn, 21 rye, 4% malted barley, and 6% 8-year bourbon. Mash bill 60% corn, 36% rye, and 4% malted barley. So I was like, you know, I just complained about how brands never do this. I'm gonna support this bottle just solely for doing that, and because it was on the clearance rack. So let's get into it here. The proof on this thing is 92. So, you know, maybe this will be a good lower proof sipper. On the nose, a little nutty, a little black peppery. I would say it's coming across, the 5 years is showing for sure. Not that you can't get good bourbon out of 5 years, but there's a little tiny bit of a youthy quality to it, but it's not bad. Like a little bit of a grain sort of note. I think the rye content is definitely coming through. There's a little bit of spice to it. Yeah, just a little bit of a kind of a black pepper spice. Standard bourbon notes underneath it. Let's get into the palate, see what happens. Cheers. Just immediately off of that first sip, I really think this is one of those bourbons where the proof is hamstringing it. There's flavors there, but I think they're too watered down for this. You know, it's 94% 5-year bourbon. So I think when you've got a little bit less age on it, and again, you can get decent bourbon out of 5 years for sure, but I think you need a little bit higher proof for that. I've had 5-year MGP before that was higher proof, really good. Doc Swinson's in particular. In this one, I think the flavors are there. I think the high rye content is doing some heavy lifting in the sense that it's giving it a little more boldness than I think it would have if it was a lower rye content at this proof, at this age. And so I think that the flavors are there, they're just kind of fighting to come out. It's got a nice little bite to it. It's got a little black pepper to it. It's got a little spice to it. There's some underlying sweetness, but really this is more of a peppery sort of forward bourbon. Let's get into the second sip here. Yeah, I think this is coming across a bit youthy. It's a little more grainy the more I'm getting into it. There's some, you know, caramel and vanilla, some very basic flavors underneath that peppery stuff, but it's drinking a little bit on the budget side. And I think, like I said, I paid $33 for it. I think it's normally $40. And so, yeah, I think that this one is just, again, I think this is just a victim of its proof point. Greg and I used to say that you know, in our opinion, a bourbon needs to have one of two things. It's got to have age or proof. Sometimes you can have both. But if you've got a lower age, sometimes having a higher proof, not being quite so watered down, can allow those flavors to be a little more bold, the ones that it does have. And if you're going to proof it way down, having a higher age, you know, you're going to get more flavors out of a higher age statement that can maybe withstand being proofed down a little bit. And I think this one just isn't really coming through at the proof point. And so, yeah, I feel like those light caramels and vanillas and stuff would be a little more bold if this was just, you know, maybe cranked up to 115 or something. Let's get into the final sip here. Yeah, that one's, this is probably a no for me as far as whether I'd buy it again. It's just drinking a little bit budget. And I hate to beat a dead horse, but it's the proof, I think, that's really just watering down an otherwise not aged quite well enough bourbon. And that's really what it's coming across as. Now, as far as Hirsch as a brand, I would definitely like to try some of their other stuff because I have heard really good things. I've heard good things about Picks. I've heard good things about Double Oak. I think I've heard people say that Hirsch as a brand sources from multiple different places, which I've always found kind of weird. Like, I've always said it's kind of a good thing that Heaven's Door does that with their store picks because, you know, if you don't like one, you might like another one. But it is kind of a weird thing to do, like to have a brand and then source from multiple other brands. It's like, then there's just no consistency with your product whatsoever. So like, I don't know if I like Hirsch products or not because there's 5 different distilleries that they're going to. I don't know if they're literally doing 5 different distilleries, but when brands do that, you know, it's a little weird to kind of like say whether or not you actually like them as a brand because their whiskey is all these different brands. So anyway, I don't know, that's just kind of a weird thing when companies do that. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any recommendations on Hirsch products that I should try. I have heard people mention that they do source from Willet sometimes. I do not like Willet products for the most part. I'm just not a fan. So I think I would be a pass on the ones that are sourced from Willet, but let me know what you would recommend with this brand, if there's something maybe I should give another try to. Let me know if you've had this one and if you had the same experience. This has been Hirsch the Horizon, straight bourbon whiskey. On the Bourbon Note, I'm Ben. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you on the next one.